Hello, and in this video we're going to look at doing the FiberTEK 4 set reference or field calibration using the 3-jumper method. The 3-jumper method is used when the link that you're testing is different on each end, for example, SC to LC, and your test equipment connections don't allow you to connect directly to both of those type of connectors at once. So for example, on the FiberTEK, we have the SC, Sam Charlie adapters connected to the modules, and our normal jumpers are SC to SC, SC to SC here. We also have SC to LC. The problem is we can't use these to perform a set reference or calibration because I can connect the SC to one end, but I cannot connect the LC to the other end unless we have the LC adapters in place and use hybrid cords. So the 3-jumper method is a way to allow you to use a hybrid cord with fixed adapters on your test equipment. This is commonly used when measuring MPO or MPT links, not MPO to MPO, but where it's MPO to an SC. So you would have MPO in the data center going out to an SC in a different rack or at the work area location. So that's the example that we'll be setting up for here. So like with the 2-jumper calibration, we need to start by first doing our set reference, and we'll set it in the 3-jumper mode. So we go to the home screen, then go to preferences, set reference, and we'll change it to the 3-jumper normal configuration. So it shows the set of jumpers here and an MPO to MPT. So it doesn't matter in that case. We are just doing SC to SC. So we'll go ahead and connect those up, and I'll just take a few seconds here to clean the jumpers while we connect them, and we'll cut back once I have all of this cleaned and connected. Okay, so now what we have are 2 sets of jumpers. We have, and I'm just showing one here to keep everything orderly. We have the main handset connected through a coupler to a jumper going to the remote handset. So main handset, jumper, remote handset, and we have this repeated twice, one for each set of jumpers coming out of the handsets. So just to keep it a little clean here, we'll just show one jumper at a time. So now that we're connected, we'll go ahead and press start and wait for it to do its reference method. When it's finished, we're going to use an LC, an SC to SC coupler to put on another jumper, but then for the sake of when we're testing, we'll be using an SC to LC adapter. Now, this isn't necessary. It depends. This is often going to be installed or part of the installation that you're testing. It'll be built into one of the panels, but I'm just using one of these for demonstration. So we have the indication to go ahead and disconnect the jumper, the coupler. So again, I'm just going to do it on one jumper right now to keep it all clear. So we disconnected those from the couplers, and now we add the 3rd jumper. So in this situation, we're adding the 3rd jumper, which is an SC to LC. In the 3-jumper method, if you don't add the 3rd jumper, you're measuring no connector loss. But when we add in this single jumper here at one side, we're introducing one additional connector. So we'll get the loss of one connection, making this similar to a 3-jumper test configuration. So we'll go ahead, and now on the LC side, we need to use a different cleaner because the LCs are 1.25 millimeter. So just use a different cleaner here. Okay, so after we calibrate, we hit OK, and this is our test configuration. So it gives us a good reading, a good indicator on our reference value. So now we've got on one side SC to SC, and then using a hybrid cord, an SC to LC, because if we put the hybrid cord on the adapter directly, we wouldn't be able to connect it to the other side to take the measurement or to do this field calibration of the set reference. So we use an SC to SC, and now we have an SC to LC coupler. So now we would be ready to test. Now again, as I mentioned, in our part of our network that's installed would be probably at the remote location or in back of one of the panels, would essentially be the equivalent of an SC to LC coupler. So just to show you how that would work, I'm going to put that in place here. And when we now connect this one, we should hear the chime indicating that we've made connection between the two. So now we would have in the center here the cabling of our SC to LC cabling. So we've calibrated out in our field referencing. We had one connector in place when we did the reference. Now we have two connections. So we have this connection and the cabling in between. So what we are measuring when we do the auto test would be one connection plus this jumper plus whatever goes between these two during our auto test. So I hope that makes sense on how to do a 3-jumper calibration and what you're measuring when you use that setup. Thank you for watching, and I'm Dan Barrera.